weights, have your belts, your blocks, your blankets, your chicken, whatever else you need nearby. And let's start standing at the front edge of the mat. Palms forward, start with a big shoulder shrug. Inhale up, exhale back and down. Keep your palms turned forward, repeat. Great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhale up, exhale back and down. One more time, great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhale up and exhale back and down. And then grow your fingernails all the way down to the floor. Grow your hair all the way up to the ceiling. Spread your toes out. Keep your knees soft. Turn your attention inward. Find your breath. Let your breath come slowly in and out through your nose. And if it works for you, feel free to close your eyes. Turn all your attentions inward. As you observe yourself from the inside out, let that third eye, the inner eye, open and observe the quality of your breath. Slow and steady, smooth and gentle. There are many styles of yoga. Most of them deal with movement coordinated with breath, moving with mindfulness, moving with breathfulness. So allow your eyes to open. And as we begin to move, keep your internal eye open. Inhale, sweep your arms up and open overhead. And as you exhale, release your arms back down to your sides with your palms turned forward, shoulder shrug. Inhale up. Exhale back and down. Palms stay forward. Inhale, arms go up and overhead. Exhale, arms down to your sides. Again, palms are forward for that shoulder shrug. Inhale up. And as you exhale, hitchhike your thumbs back a little bit more. Now your palms turn to the sides. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, arms down to your sides. Palms are forward for that shoulder shrug. Inhale. Exhale, hitchhike your thumbs back a little bit more. Inhale, arms up. Palms can come together. As you exhale, swan dive, bring your hands together behind your back. Inhale, look forward, stand up. And as you exhale, draw those shoulder blades down your back. Belly pulled in, head is on straight. Knees are unlocked. Slow, smooth, deep, expansive, chesty breaths. Knees unlocked, toes are spread, heads on level and straight. And release your arms. Inhale, both arms up and overhead. Exhale, bend your knees, swan dive down. And as you do so, join your hands together behind your back. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, sit down into a squat. This is what it looks like from the front, from the side. Your knees are bent. Your hips are back over your heels. You can wiggle your toes. Shoulders are squeezing together. And your belly is probably resting on your thighs. So find that tummy. And as you do so, release your arms so your arms are parallel. Exhale, pull your tummy in. And then keep your tummy pulled in, your hips low. Inhale, sweep your arms up alongside your ears. You look like a zigzag, a thunderbolt, a lightning. Inhale, press through your heels, come all the way up to standing. And exhale, release your arms to your sides. Palms are forward for that shoulder shrug. Inhale, up. Exhale, back and down. Inhale, both arms up and overhead. You can join your hands together if you like. Exhale, hands come behind your back. Join together once again. Knees are bent. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, sit down, pulling in that tummy, separating your arms. Inhale, arms up alongside your ears. Exhale, sit down a little bit lower. Inhale, power up to standing. Exhale, release arms to your sides. Palms forward for that shoulder shrug. Inhale, up. Exhale, back and down. Inhale, hands together, up overhead. Exhale, swan dive, hands behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down, separate those arms. Inhale, arms alongside your ears. Exhale, sit down a little bit further. And now let's change it. You're going to hinge forward from your hips, hands come to the floor, step back into your downward facing dog. And we're here for 5 breaths. Let your breath come slowly in and out through your nose. And feel free to take this dog for a jog. Pedal your feet. Bend one knee, then the other. Let your hips shift from side to side. Do your best to untuck your shirt from your back waistband without using your hands. Pulling in that lower belly, pulling in your front ribs. Try to lengthen your lower back, your side body. Stretch. And then take a walk all the way back to the front edge of your mat. Head hangs, knees bent. Reverse swan dive. Inhale, arms come up and overhead. Exhale, arms down to your sides. Palms forward, shoulder shrug. Big yawn. Inhale, up. Exhale, back and down. Inhale, both arms up and overhead. Hands join if you like. Exhale, swan dive down, clasping your hands together behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit down a little bit more. And hinge forward, hands come down to the ground. This time, step back with just your right foot. Let's turn this into a lunge. Nice long lunge. There's length front to back between your feet, but also side to side. So maybe wiggle that front foot a little bit wider out to the side. Pressing hard through the back heel, feeling that calf muscle stretch. And then from here, step back with that front foot into your downward facing dog. And breathe. Knees are bent, heels are lifted, and sit bones reaching towards the sky. Now on this transition, your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to rise up onto your tippy toes. Exhale, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, shift your body weight forward, and at the last second, step up with that right foot. Find yourself in a lunge. And breathe. Pushing through that back heel, maybe wiggling that front foot a little bit wider. And then step all the way to the very front edge of your mat. The head hanging, knees bent, reverse swan dive. Inhale, come all the way back up to standing. Exhale, release arms down to your sides. Palms forward, shoulder shrug. Inhale, up. Exhale, back and down. Inhale, both arms up and overhead. Exhale, swan dive, clasping your hands behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down. Release your arms. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit down a little bit further. And then hinging over. Once again, hands come to the floor. This time you're stepping back with your left foot. You could wiggle the front foot a little bit wider or hop the back foot a little bit wider, whatever it takes to get not only length, but width between your feet. Press hard through that back heel. Feeling that calf muscle stretch. And then once again, transition back to your downward facing dog. Wiggle your hips side to side, bend one knee, then the other. Lift your heels, bend your knees, stick your butt out. Breathe into this downward facing dog. And then that transition, rise up onto tippy toes, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, try to get maximum clearance between you and the floor. Get up off the floor as much as you can as you shift your body forward, step up with that left foot and come into a lunge once again. Breathing. Shifting forward even more, stepping up, both feet to the front edge of your mat. Head hangs, knees bent. Reverse swan dive, inhale, arms go up and overhead. Exhale, release arms down to your sides. Palms forward, shoulder shrug, inhale up. Exhale, back and down. Let's continue. Inhale, both arms up and overhead. Knees bent, swan dive down, clasping your hands behind your back. Inhale, head up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit down even further. Hinging over, both hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Same technique that you did for shifting forward into a lunge, but this time you're not going to move your feet. So from this downward facing dog, rise to tippy toes, shift your body weight forward, pull in those front ribs, pull in that belly, come all the way to the top of a push-up, plank pose. Continue to shift forward all the way to the tippy toes. Set your knees down, but keep your belly lifted up. Spin your elbow pits to face forward. Keep your elbows narrow. Let your elbows scrape your ribs. Maybe even turn your fingers out to the sides. As you scrape those elbows against your ribs, control the descent as you lower down. You can untuck your toes, cross one big toe on top of the other. Take your hands out wide to your sides, making a letter T with your body. Come up onto fingertips. Tip your elbows forward and twist. Look over one shoulder and then twist, look over the other. Whatever shoulder you're not looking over is dipping forward. So one shoulder lifts up, the other shoulder dips down, and you look away from the slouching shoulder. Inhale, shoulder up. Exhale, twist the other way. Inhale up to center. Exhale, twist the other way. You want more intensity? Bring your hands in a little bit more narrow. Get more rotation to happen in your chest. And get acquainted with the fronts of your shoulders. So the stretch you are feeling now in the front of one shoulder and then in the front of the other shoulder, that's the sensation that you want to not cultivate. You don't want that stretchy feeling when you're doing your chaturangas. So get it out of your system now. It's a fine stretch, but it's not a good strength or weight bearing mechanic, body mechanic. So go ahead, get the stretch now, just to know what it feels like, so that you know that this is not something you want to do during your vinyasas, your chaturangas. All right, coming to neutral. Hands come beneath your chest, thumbs go underneath your nipples, shoulders shrug up onto your back. So resist the temptation to slouch your shoulders forward. Get your shoulders up onto your back as high up off the floor as you can. Elbows in narrow, thumbs underneath the nipples, pinky fingers flare out to the sides. And as you exhale, look towards your chest. Pull in your front nose, pull in your belly, press into your hands and push up, maybe onto your knees. And then back into your child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back over your heels for child's pose. From child's pose, arms stretched out in front of you, hips pinned to your heels. That's a good measurement for your downward facing dog. Bottoms up. Coming into that downward facing dog. Let's continue. From downward facing dog, rise up onto tippy toes, shift your body weight forward, pulling your front ribs, pulling your belly like you're getting tickled from below. Get maximum clearance as you shift forward to the top of that push-up. Continue to shift forward, push forward with your toes, set your knees down. Once again, spin your fingers out to the side, let your elbows scrape your ribs as you chaturanga down, keeping your shoulders from collapsing forward. You should feel the work on the triceps, the back sides of your arms when you do those chaturangas. Fix it. Shoulders shrug up onto your back. Hands are narrow. Chin tucked in. Push up and back into child's pose. Let's do that one more time. From your child's pose, hips over your heels, fingers spread wide, arms out in front of you. Turn it into a downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, rise to tippy toes. Exhale, pulling your front ribs, pulling your belly, shift your body weight forward all the way to the top of that push-up. Continue to shift forward up onto your tippy toenails. Set your knees down. Make sure your fingers are spinning out to the sides, your elbows scrape your ribs, and your shoulders stay off the floor as you chaturanga down. I'm going to untuck my toes at this point, release my arms out to the sides, and make a little pillow out of the back of my hands. So resting your cheek on the back of your hands. Toes untucked. You can cross one big toe on top of the other and jiggle your hips side to side. You want your legs to rotate in such a way that your backside is broad and flat. Your toes turn in, your heels splay out. With your forehead on the back of your hands, find those front ribs, find that pubic bone, and as you exhale, pull in on that pelvic floor, press that pubic bone to the floor, tuck in on your front ribs, and then hover your upper body off the ground. Forehead's on the back of your hands, so you're looking down at the floor, and release. Let's repeat. Push your toenails down, maybe lift your kneecaps up, pull in on that pelvic floor, press your pubic bone down, tuck in your front ribs, do all of that, and exhale, tummy strong, float your upper body. Still looking down, forehead on the back of your hands. And release. One more time. Give it a jiggle, make sure you're not using your butt. You want to use your abs for this and your back muscles. Click those toenails down, maybe lift your kneecaps up, pull in on that pelvic floor, do a little pelvic thrust, tilt with your hips so your pubic bone presses down, tuck in your front ribs, and once again, hover that upper body off the ground. And release. Make it a little bit more challenging now. Arms open out to a letter T. Palms are down to start. Find your shoulders, and as you shrug your shoulders onto your back, roll your thumbs to face forward. You're giving me thumbs up with both hands. Palms are facing forward, thumbs up with both hands. So shoulders are coming up off the ground first. Forehead pressing down as if you still had your forehead on the back of your hands. Toenails click to the ground, kneecaps lift up, pelvic thrust tilt, pelvic floor lifts. Tuck in those front ribs and give me 2 thumbs up as you float your upper body. And breathe. And release. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. I'm going to do that 2 more times. All the muscles you are enjoying now are the ones you want to employ when you're doing your cobra pose. Inhale. Exhale, click those toenails down, lift that kneecaps up, pull in that pelvic floor, and 2 thumbs up. And release. And 3rd time's a charm. Give it a jiggle. Pull in on that pelvic floor, click your toenails down, pelvic thrust, tilt, and 2 thumbs up. Can you keep this upper body mechanics going on? Put your hands narrow underneath your chest. Hands do touch the floor, shoulders stay tucked up onto your back. Hands are not pushing you up. This is your cobra. Snake has no hands. So the hands are there, but they're not functional. And release. All right. Find those front ribs, and as you exhale, look towards your chest, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, power up, push into your hands to back yourself up into that child's pose. From child's pose, transition to a downward facing dog. Look forward. Lift your head up, look forward. Bring your hands a little bit more narrow, closer to one another. Keep your head up, bend your knees, back your hips up, and get ready to leapfrog outside your hands to the front edge of your mat. Drop your head, bend your knees, reverse swan dive, inhale, come all the way up to standing. So we have all the basics for a sun salutation. Release your arms to your sides, palms are turned up, shoulder shrug, inhale. Exhale, back and down. So let's put it together. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, swan dive, clasp your hands behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit down a little bit more. Hinge forward, hands come to the ground. Step, walk, or jump back to the top of your push-up. Shift forward, you can put your knees down or do this flight as a feather, stiff as a board. Chaturanga, lower down. Inhale, chest up, toes are untucked. Hands are not doing any work here. Exhale, release. Push up and back towards a child's pose. And at the last second, you turn that child's pose into a downward facing dog. I like that transition because it prevents you from screwing up your back. So bending your knees on that transition back to a downward facing dog is a very good technique. All right, we're here for at least 5 breaths. Catching your breath. And at the end of your next exhalation, lift your head up, maybe move your hands a little bit more narrow, bend your knees, and leapfrog hippity hop, walk, step, or jump to the front edge of your mat. Head hangs, knees bent, reverse swan dive, inhale up overhead. And exhale, arms down to your sides. Palms forward, shoulder shrug, big yawn. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, swan dive. Clasp your hands together behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. On this transition, as you exhale, tuck in your front ribs, pull in your belly, and step back to your downward facing, plank pose. Plank pose. Shift forward, chaturanga, lower down. Shoulders are on your back for your cobra. And exhale on that transition. As if going to child's pose, you turn it into a downward facing dog at the last moment. And you're here for 5 breaths. And once again, when you've had 5 breaths, you look forward, walk, step, or jump, front edge of your mat. Hang your head, bend your knees, reverse swan dive, inhale, arms go up and overhead. And exhale, arms down to your sides. Palms are forward for that shoulder shrug, that big yawn. And release. One last time, inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, swan dive, clasp your hands behind your back. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge over, hands to the floor. Plank pose. Shifting forward. You can drop your knees if you like. Chaturanga. Cobra. And you turn a child's pose into a downward facing dog. 5 breaths. And once more, looking forward, bend your knees, hippity hop, walk, step, or jump to the front edge of your mat. Hang your head, bend your knees, reverse swan dive, inhale up and overhead. And exhale, release arms down to your sides. Palms forward, shoulder shrug, inhale up, back, and down. So we're going to move down to the floor. And we're going to work on some strengthening exercises that will help improve your chaturangas, your reverse push-ups. Get your weights. So I've got 3s and 5s. I recommend no more than 5 pounds. 2s, 3s are great. If you have a block, also have that ready to go. And join me down on the floor. You'll see that I've got a pillow. Pillow is completely optional, but pillow is recommended if when you lie down, your chin sticks up higher than your nose, then you probably need a pillow so that your throat is in a more neutral, straight position rather than arched over a stiff neck. So support your head so that you can breathe comfortably. And then your block goes between your knees. Knees are bent, feet are flat, and I'm squeezing that block between my knees to help engage the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is part of your core musculature, and it tries to help you hold in your guts, especially when you do exertion, when you are pushing or pumping weight. So hugging that block between your knees helps to engage the inner thighs, helps to support the pelvic floor. So let's work with that. Hands go low down on your tummy. Begin with an inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze the block with your knees, with your inner thighs. And inhale, release. As you exhale, press all the breath out of your tummy, squeeze your thighs together. And inhale, relax. You'll soon discover or feel beneath your hands, how your pelvis is rocking. So let's encourage that. As you inhale, release. As you exhale, it's almost like a pelvic thrust tilt. As you squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, push out all your breath. And inhale, relax. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, cultivate that pelvic thrust tilt. And inhale, release. 2 more just like that. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in your front ribs for even more engagement. Inhale, release. 1 more time. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in your front ribs, feel your abs engaged. And inhale, relax. That's the lower body that you want to cultivate and sustain. So let's set it up. Again, you still have that block between your knees. Your feet stay flat on the floor, toes are turned in, knees are narrow. Inhale. As you exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in your front ribs and leave that in place. Lock in that lower body. Find your weights. I'm using 3-pounders. Okay. I'm going to take my arms directly overhead. As I bend the elbows, they scrape narrow against my ribs, just like they would for your chaturanga. Inhale, prepare. As you exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in your front ribs and push your arms out. And inhale, release. Exhale, push out with those arms, tuck in with those ribs, pull in on that pelvic floor, squeeze the block. Inhale, relax the effort. Exhale on the exertion as you extend your arms. And inhale, release. 2 more. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in those front ribs, extend your arms. And inhale, release. Exhale, extend. Now, if you're looking for more intensity, inhale, prepare. As you exhale, extend, sit up. Really tuck in those front ribs. And inhale, release. As you exhale, extend, and maybe sit up. And release. I'm going for a total of 8 of these. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in that pelvic floor, tuck in those front ribs. Do a little sit up if you like. And release. Exhale, extend. And release. 4 more. Exhale. Let those elbows scrape your ribs. That's the chaturanga move. Exhale, extend. Now, weight training breathing pattern is opposite of yoga breathing. As you may have noticed during our sun salutations, we typically in yoga inhale up and exhale down. We're doing the opposite now because this is more of a strength training move. Exhale on the exertion when you strength train. Inhale, release. Exhale on the exertion. Inhale, release. And just pause. So that's why the breathing might feel a little off to you, because it's the opposite of our typical yoga breathing pattern. Doing our chaturangas flipped over, belly up rather than belly down. So it's all opposite and backwards. Let's continue. Since we have these weights, since we're doing some good strength training, some abs and arm toning that helps to support our chaturangas, our yoga move, let's incorporate a little bit more chest muscle. So arms are going to go straight up overhead. This is your inhale. As you exhale, tuck in those front ribs, squeeze the block, pull in that pelvic floor, set your base, and open your arms out to your sides. As you exhale, squeeze like you're hugging a tree. Inhale, release. Exhale, pull everything to midline, squeezing a tree. And inhale, release. Elbows are soft, arms are curved. Inhale, release. Exhale on the exertion. Inhale, release. Exhale on the exertion, squeezing the block. Inhale, release. Exhale, squeezing the block, pulling in on that pelvic floor, tucking in those front ribs. And inhale, open. 2 more just like that. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, release. Notice how your lower back, exhale, presses towards the floor. And inhale, release. If you want more intensity, you get to exhale on the exertion and sit up. Squeeze out even more breath. And inhale, open. Exhale, sit up. Inhale, open. So chin is tucked. Exhale, sit up. If you're familiar with your bandhas, Mula Bandha is the pelvic floor. So yes, you are pulling in on that pelvic floor. Uddiyana Bandha is somewhere around your bottom ribs. So as you pull in that pelvic floor, tuck in those front ribs, you're engaging Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And as you exhale and sit up, you're also adding in Jandalahara Bandha, which is the throat. your chin is tucked. So bandhas activate. As you exhale, pull in that pelvic floor, tuck in those front ribs, tuck your chin, and inhale, open. Exhale, yoga powers activate. Inhale, open. I think we've got 2 more here. And again, if you know me, I can't count. I was hoping for 8. I think I've got that. Exhale, exertion, and inhale, open. Good. Now let's exhale, leave your head down, squeeze your arms up overhead. So lower body's locked in place. You're squeezing that block, you're pulling in the pelvic floor, you're tucking in your front ribs, chin is slightly tucked, arms are straight. And then keeping your arms straight, push your shoulder blades into the ground. Keep your shoulder blades in the floor and your shoulders down away from your ears. Feel your shoulder blades flat, pinned to the floor. Lower body locked into place. And now here's your challenge. If you truly have that Uddiyana Bandha, those front ribs tucked in, those abs working, that pelvic floor pulled in, everything working, then you can take one arm overhead towards the ground and your front ribs stay tucked in. And then bring that arm back to center. And take the other arm overhead towards the floor, not touching, and back to center. So only moving one arm at a time, paying attention to your core muscles, keeping those front ribs pulled in, keep squeezing that block. Moving slowly, no particular breathing on this one. Unless you wanted to inhale, take the arm overhead, and exhale, bring it back to midline. Inhale overhead, and exhale back to midline. Moving slowly. This helps strengthen the arm shoulder joint. As you move that arm in the shoulder joint there, helps to stabilize those shoulders. Not exactly the same move you would use for a chaturanga, but it would be the same move you would use if you wanted to turn your plank pose into a shoulder stand or a handstand one day. All right, if you've got good technique, your head is not going anywhere, you're not messing up your hair, and your front ribs are tucked in the entire time. The shape of your back on the floor does not change, and you are denting that brick, squeezing the brick nice and hard with your inner thigh muscles. All right, come back to neutral. Take it to the next level. This is completely optional. Inhale, both arms go overhead, and as you exhale, they come back to start. Inhale overhead. Exhale back to start. This is why you want the light weights. Think about inhaling into your upper chest rather than your belly. Exhaling, tucking in those front ribs. Inhale into your heart, your upper chest. Exhale, tuck in those front ribs. Make sure that belly stays strong. Inhaling upper chest, keeping your belly engaged as you do this. Exhale, make sure those front ribs are tucked in nice and strong. You got 4 more of these here. So if those chaturangas were problematic for you during our sun salutations, this is good homework. Working your abs, strengthening your shoulders and your arms. One more here. Inhaling overhead and exhaling. And then bend your elbows down by your sides. Now, if you wanted to level up and go to a slightly higher weight, I do have my 5s nearby. I'm going to demonstrate this next one with my 5s. If you have shoulder issues, stay at your 3 or your 2s, whatever you've got. We're going to transition to now working those triceps on the backs of the arms. And so my triceps are fairly strong. They can handle a little bit more weight than my shoulder muscles can. That's why I'm leveling up with weight. This is what we're doing. So still same position you started with, squeezing that block, tucking in your front ribs, pulling in that lower belly, maybe tucking your chin slightly, pushing those arms up, letting the elbows bend, and then straighten. So only thing moving is below the elbow. Only thing moving from elbows or fingertips. Everything else locked into place. Elbows stay narrow. These are called skull crushers if you ever go to strength training class. Elbows stay narrow. If you're glancing up at yourself here, you're able to see both elbows at all times without having to turn your head side to side. And you're just hammering away here with those tricep muscles on the backs of your arms. Shoulder blades stay pinned to the floor. Elbows stay narrow. If you want to work it, think about Exhaling as you extend those arms. Inhale, let them bend. Exhaling, extending those arms. Inhale, let them bend. Can you work that lower body too? Squeezing the block, tucking in those front ribs, pulling in on that pelvic floor. Squeezing the block, tucking in the front ribs, pulling in on that pelvic floor. Maybe feeling more and more of your lower body engage as you work these triceps. You kind of almost put the upper body on autopilot and really intensify those abs as you work those triceps. How about 2 more here? Inhale. Exhale on the exertion. Finish with arms straight, and now let your elbows scrape your ribs. And then set your weights aside. All right, remove the block. Clear the clutter out of the way, and let's loosen up that lower body, because you've just been locked into place for a few moments there, and let's loosen it up. Bring one knee at a time, both knees into your chest. Rock your hips side to side. Peeling your hips away from the floor, jogging your hips side to side, walking your hips away from your shoulders. Your low back wasn't touching before, now it is for sure. Arms out to your sides. Without using your hands, squeeze your knees together. Without using your hands, bring those knees in tighter, closer to your chest by tucking in your front ribs. And inhale, release. Exhale, tuck in those front ribs, squeeze those knees in closer. And inhale, release. Again, hands free for this one. Exhale, using those lower abs, squeeze those knees into your chest and release. Really exhaling, tucking in those front ribs, using those lower abs, squeezing knees to chest. Maybe your hips come off the floor a little bit, almost like you're rolling up to do a backward somersault, but you're not going anywhere. 2 more. Exhale, squeeze in. Inhale, release. Exhale, squeeze in. Hold it in. Keep your legs together. Take both legs all the way over to the right. Let's turn this into a twist. Bend your left elbow, left hand comes to your ribs. Find those side ribs. Left hand on your side ribs. Take a deep rib cage breath. And as you exhale, tuck those front ribs in like you're getting tickled. Inhale, expand those side ribs. Exhale, tuck in those side ribs. Maybe engage your abs a little bit more. Squeeze those knees together. And inhale, release. Your right elbow is on the floor. Your left hand is on your ribs. You inhale, prepare. And as you exhale, tuck in those left ribs, jam your right elbow down and pry up your right shoulder to get a little bit more of a twist in the upper body. You can self-adjust just like that 2 or 3 more times. Left hand on the ribs, inhale into the ribs. Exhale, tuck in the front ribs, jam that right elbow down, pry the right shoulder blade up, and adjust 2 or 3 times to get deeper into this twist. And lift the top leg up first, the bottom leg up second. And once again, arms open out like airplane wings. Knees are narrow, close together without using your hands. Exhale, bring your knees in tight, close to your chest, and then take both knees all the way over to the left. So this yoga pose is called Jathara Parvattanasana, which translates to rotated stomach pose. It's a spinal twist, but to get deeper into the twist, you got to use your abs. Right hand on the ribs, left elbow on the floor. Breathe into those right ribs. And as you exhale, tuck in those ribs, jam the left elbow down, maybe fidget your shoulders so they go a little wider. You can do that self-adjustment 2 or 3 or 4 times, taking your time. And then to come out of this, lift the top leg up first, the bottom leg up second. Come to neutral. Hugging those knees into your chest, walking those hips away from your shoulders. Find your yoga belt, wherever that got off to. Transfer both hands over onto your right knee. Stand your left foot up on the floor. Dial that left big toe in towards midline. And you can take that belt around the bottom of the right foot and raise the roof. So any kind of belt will do here, as long as you've got lots of length to play with. You're going to let out enough slack on that belt so that your leg is vertical, straight up and down. Left foot flat on the ground. Right leg straight up in the air, vertical, like a pillar supporting a house. You can loop the belt around the back of your hands so that you can hold on without aggravating your carpal tunnel. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. This is our starting position. Find your front ribs, find your belly, find that pelvic floor. Think about squeezing your legs narrow, tucking in your front ribs, keeping your hips heavy on the ground. And just take a few breaths here to really let your backside spread out. You want the weight of that right leg to spread across your lower back. You've let out enough slack on that belt so the leg is perfectly straight. So the weight of your arms hanging from that belt plugs your leg deep into your pelvis. You want to feel your low back, everything below the belt pinned to the floor. And breathe. As you exhale, tuck in your front ribs, extend your left leg out, and bring your left leg up alongside the right. Both feet are flexed flat. Only got one leg in the belt though. Inhale, prepare. As you exhale, shorten both legs, tuck in your front ribs, pull in on that pelvic floor. Maybe tuck your chin a little bit. And then lower the left leg down 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way, not all the way down, just to hover in midair. Now, the left leg is not being supported with a belt or anything. It's just free floating in midair, but it is engaged. Imagine you had another belt and another set of hands. Imagine you had a belt around the bottom of that left foot. Can you keep the left leg straight, but make it short? Pull it, suck it into your pelvis. Pull in your front ribs, pull in on that pelvic floor. You might want to exhale on the exertion as you haul that left leg up. Slip the left foot in, slip your right foot out. Inhale. Exhale, lower the right leg down, maybe 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way. Just hover. Let that left leg be heavy in your pelvis. So check yourself. Make sure that left leg hasn't started creeping up towards your torso. Arms are straight, shoulders are heavy on the ground, left leg plugged in, and right leg sucked into your pelvis. Feeling your lower back spread across the ground. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Bend that right knee, set your right foot down. Now we're just going to be here for a few moments, letting that left leg really plug into your lower back. Feeling your hips spread across the floor. All right, getting that left leg stapled into your pelvis, pelvis stapled onto the floor. Extend that right leg, sweep your right leg up and into the belt, switching again. Right foot in, left foot out. Right foot in, left foot out. Exhale, abs are strong. Lower that left leg, maybe 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way down. Keep it pulled into socket. So far, so good. Let's engage those bandhas. So pelvic floor pulled in, front ribs pulled in, chin tucked. As you exhale on the exertion, maybe sit up. Now at this point, you can ditch the belt and hold on to the back of your leg. Holding on to the back of your leg, inhale, prepare. Exhale, sit up a little bit more. Tuck in those front ribs, pull in that pelvic floor. Staying upright, exhale on the exertion, switch legs. Scissor. Hold on to the back of the other leg. Let that right leg descend 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way down. Exhale on the exertion, scissor your leg, switch. Exhale on the exertion, scissor your leg, switch. Exhale on the exertion, scissor your legs and switch. Exhale, exertion, switch. The trick to making this doable is to keep pulling those legs into your pelvis. Keep your legs short, engaged, sucked in. Chin tucked, front ribs are tucked, pelvic floor pulled in. As you take a nice long walk. Finish holding onto the back of your left leg. Bring both legs up, both knees to your chest, and lie down. Good. Knees bent, feet flat. Removing the pillow. So we did a little bit to warm up the shoulders with our sun salutation. You got your block nearby. You take your block once again between your knees. Again, I've removed the pillow. That should be a hint that we're heading towards a bridge. So block between the knees, nothing underneath your head. If you have whiplash, neck issues, you can use a pillow or a series of folded blankets underneath your shoulders. I'll demonstrate where that would go. It does not go underneath your head. It goes underneath your shoulders, avoiding your neck. So you can give yourself a little platform in which to hang your head off of. And that way you'll have less bend at the neck if you have neck issues and you still want to try this bridge pose. So knees bent, feet stay flat on the floor, legs are narrow, squeezing that block. You inhale, prepare. And as you exhale, tuck in those front ribs, pulling on that pelvic floor, squeeze the block. And then peel your hips up, rolling to the tops of your shoulders. Feet push down into the floor. And then slowly lower down. I'm going to remove my pillow. I don't need it. But some of you prefer it. Knees bent, inhale, prepare. Exhale, squeeze the block. Peel your hips up off the ground. Trying to keep those front ribs tucked in as you come into this bridge. And lower down. Inhale. Exhale, pelvic thrust tilt, squeeze the block, tuck in your front ribs as you peel your hips up into your bridge. And lower down. One more time, just like that. Exhale, squeeze the block, pull in on that pelvic floor, tuck in your front ribs, peel your hips up off the ground for your bridge. And slowly lower down. Now your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to do this without a block. So removing the block, knees bent, feet flat. Exhale, squeeze your legs narrow, pull in on that pelvic floor, tucking your front ribs, peel your hips up. And if you're feeling strong about this, float your right foot 1 inch off the ground and set it back down. And float your left foot 1 inch off the ground and set it back down. And go for a little walk. Little walk is the key word. Only 1 inch off the floor, 1 foot at a time as you march. The higher you take your foot off the ground, the easier this is. If you want to challenge yourself, slow march 1 inch off the floor, 1 leg at a time. Keeping your legs narrow as if you still had some sort of block between your legs. This is really good for training you to stabilize your pelvis and your hips. Use those core muscles so that you can do fancy balancing poses. A little slow march, finishing with that left foot. And lower down. All right, after that, a twist would be nice. So once again, without using your hands, bring your knees in towards your chest, open your arms out to the side, squeeze your legs narrow. Exhale, bring those knees in tighter, closer to your chest, and swing both knees over to the right side. Self-adjust if you like. You can put your left hand on your ribs, elbow on the floor. Exhale, tuck in your front ribs, lift the top leg up first, bottom leg up second. Once again, arms open out like airplane wings. Exhale, squeeze those knees together, bring your knees in towards your chest. With your abs engaged, take those legs all the way over to the left. Right hand can come to your ribs, left elbow can be on the floor as you fidget, as you get a little deeper into your twist. And then continue to roll on over, rolling all the way over onto hands and knees. If you would like to put some padding underneath your knees, go for it. Let's continue stabilizing those hips and pelvises. Let's start with our cat and cow. From hands and knees, you can have your toes curled under. Prepare with an inhale. And as you exhale, arch your back for cat pose, pressing out all the breath. Inhaling for cow. And exhaling for cat. Waving your spine back and forth, moving back and forth through cat and cow. As you wave your spine back and forth, up and down for cat and cow. Once again, turn your third eye inward. Observe your breath and how your body are moving together. All right, come to neutral. All 10 toes are curled under, but extend that right leg, pushing back through the right heel. Feeling that right calf muscle stretch. Find that pelvic floor, pull that pelvic floor into your body, tuck your front ribs into your body, lift some of the weight out of your hands, and then give me a thumbs up with your left hand. Thumbs up and point the fingers. Feeling good about that, you can lift your right leg up, pull your right leg into socket without letting your belly fall out. So you got to find that teeter-totter, that balance between shortening the right leg and letting your belly fall out. So keep that belly lifted and the right leg pulled into your pelvis at the same time. And release. Other side. Exhale for cat. Toes are curled under, left leg extends. You'll notice as you extend that left leg, it's easier to pull your tummy in. As soon as you start to shorten that left leg, your belly wants to fall out. So you got to find that happy medium. Right arm extends, thumbs out, point your fingers. Exhale, tummy strong as you float that left leg. Pull the left leg into socket, keep your front ribs tucked in, abs engaged. And release. Let's switch sides. Right leg extends, left arm extends, float, pull in to midline, squeeze towards midline. And release. Once again, switch. Left leg straight, right arm straight, and then extend. And release. All right, my friends, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, find your belt, bring it with you, and then step forward. Find your blocks, have your blocks ready. You're gonna need 2 blocks and a belt, and then come on up to standing. So I've got my 2 blocks here. I'm gonna stand on them. I'm just gonna drape this belt over my shoulder so I can find it later. Standing on those 2 blocks, notice that your hips are level. Now, if you remove one of the blocks and you stand with 1 foot on a block, 1 foot off, your hips are no longer level. The leg that is no longer supported on the block tends to fall out of socket. So I have to take this straight leg, they're both straight, and pull it up into my pelvis to keep my hips level. So out of socket, in socket, out of socket, in socket, out of socket, in socket. And you can do the same, switching sides, 1 foot on, 1 foot off, out of socket, in socket, 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 and release. Moving those blocks out of the way. Let's do a little balancing. Palms forward, shoulder shrug, inhale up. Exhale back and down. Standing on your right foot, shifting all your weight to the right foot. Did your left leg fall out of socket immediately? Go ahead, pull it back into socket and bring that left knee in towards your chest. Holding on with your hands or with your belt, get a good grip on that knee. Keeping the leg pulled into socket, keeping your hips level. Both feet are flexed, Both knees are bent. And you're balancing. And then set that foot down. And let's switch to the other side. Standing on your left foot. Pull in your tummy, tuck in your front ribs, pull up on that pelvic floor. Do a little bit of abs to bring that knee in towards your chest, but also make sure that that hip is level, that it hasn't fallen out of socket. Whoa. Make slow adjustments as you balance. Both feet flex flat, both knees are bent. And release. Switching sides. Standing on that right foot, keeping your hips level, bringing that left knee up, holding on. If you want to progress to the next level, use your belt or use your hands to help you hold on to the bottom of the foot. Maybe hold on with both hands to the bottom of that foot. You can bow forward, look at the knee, and breathe. And set that foot down. Switching sides, standing on the left foot, pulling in your front ribs, pulling your belly, bringing that right knee high, holding on to the knee. The more you pull your belly in, tuck in your front ribs, the easier it will be to reach down, take a hold of the foot, use your belt if you need to. Profile view, you kind of look like a candy cane. I call this one candy cane pose, bringing your forehead towards your knee. And then release. All right, candy cane pose progresses. Now, ways to modify your candy cane pose is to do it with your back against the wall. I obviously don't have real walls here, but if you were to do this with your back against the wall, you want to stand like 1 footprint away from the wall so that you can stick your elbows against the wall for support. Even lean your hips against the wall for support if you need to, but it's there just to catch you just in case. You're not on the wall, you're just in front of it. Your wall adjacent. Again, if you were to do this with the support of a wall, you measure off 1 footprint from the wall, be able to stick your elbows to the wall if you needed to, stick your butt to the wall if you needed to. It's there just in case. Standing on your right foot again, bringing that left knee up. And again, if you were doing it at the wall, you could just put your butt against the wall. Pull in your front ribs, tuck in that pelvic floor, bring that leg a little bit higher. Bow forward, maybe hold on to the bottom of the foot using your belt or your hands. Leaning against the wall if you needed to, butt against the wall, knees are bent. And then challenge yourself to extend that leg. This is Bikram's Janu Shirshasana. Bringing forehead towards the knee to balance. Then bend the knee into your chest, come out the way you went in, and set the foot down. The trick to Bikram's Janu Shirshasana is to have that extended leg pulled into socket. So standing on your left foot, bring that right knee up, tuck in your front ribs, pull in that pelvic floor to get the left leg a little bit higher. This is your right leg, bring that right leg a little bit higher. Reach down, hold on to the bottom of the foot, bowing your head. Leaning your butt against the wall if you need to, extending that leg out. And the leg extends, but it stays short. It's plugged into your pelvis, giving you a lovely back stretch. Bowing forward, putting your forehead to the knee, if that works for you. And then coming out the way you went in, bringing that knee to your chest and setting the foot down. All right. If you lost your belt along the way, you might consider having that ready to go because we're going to do another couple of variations on this theme. Standing on your right foot once again, exhale, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, do your ab crunch, bring that knee up towards your chest. And then open the leg out to the side, Captain Morgan style. So opening that leg out to the left, hitchhike your right thumb back. Remember our airplane locust variation. So you're hitchhiking that thumb out to the side, chest is open. And then setting the foot down. Switching sides, standing on your left foot, exhale, bring that right knee up. Check to make sure your hips are level. Tucking in your front ribs so you can bring that leg a little bit higher. And then hitchhike, left arm out to the side, right leg out to the side. Captain Morgan pose. And release. Some of you know where we're going next, and that would be into a tree pose. So standing on that right leg, bring that left leg up. Pelvic thrust, bring that leg up a little bit higher, tuck in your front ribs, nice strong abs. Open the leg out to the side, hitchhiking, chest is open. And then putting the foot against your leg, either above or below the knee. And breathe. And release, switching sides. Standing on your left, bringing that right knee up. Bringing up a little bit higher, using your abs, pelvic thrust, tilt, tuck in your front ribs, and open the leg out to the side, Captain Morgan style. And breathe. And maybe without having to look down, you can crawl your hand down to help you place that foot a little higher up on your leg, perhaps. Again, avoid the knee, your tree pose. This hitchhiking move with your left thumb helps you to swing that right knee open a little bit more. And release. One more for you. You're wondering what this belt is about? Well, here it goes. This is our grand finale. Standing on your right leg, pelvic thrust, bring that knee up. Again, you can do this near the wall. Put your butt on the wall. Keep the standing knee soft. Open the leg out to the side. The belt can help you lasso that foot. Holding on close to the ankle, shoulders back, chest lifted, and then extending the leg out, if it goes there. Elbow can go to the wall as you stand up nice and tall. And then it comes in and you release, switching sides. Standing on your left foot, exhale, pelvic thrust, tilt, bring that other knee up. Breathe. Open it out to the side. Hitchhiking for balance. Opening up your hips, reaching down, holding on with a belt, or maybe holding on with your hand. Balancing. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Extended hand to big toe pose. And coming out the way you went in. Ooh. Yay. Big inhale, both arms up and overhead. As you exhale, swan dive down, clasping your hands together behind your back. Inhale, look up. Exhale, sit down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit down a little bit more. Bring your hands together. Maybe you can turn this right into a squat. And breathe. So let your toes go wide, let your knees go wide. With your hands together, push your elbows against your knees, squeeze your knees against your elbows to help release your back. Just in case you were squeezing your back muscles to help you balance. This is a good counter pose. Now, if your knees do not bend this way, you have those blocks nearby, you can take some of the load off those knees by sitting on the blocks. If your knees are still protesting, you can just bail out completely. If you do have knee issues and you want to bail out completely, you might consider putting your blocks into what I call butt cheek configuration, so that when you sit on them, your hips are higher than your knees. You can bring the bottom of your feet together. Let your knees fall away from your hips, hip bones higher than knee bones. And join us with a butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. Otherwise, just keep working that squat. So squatting or butterflying, whatever works for you. Take some nice deep belly breaths. And let's finish. So if you're not already there, get your blocks. Again, butt to cheek configuration, one block for each cheek. Sitting on your blocks. Take your legs out wide. Palms forward, shoulder shrug, inhale up, exhale back and down. Pick a side, any side, reach up and come over into a side stretch. Inhale up and come over to the other side. Once again, inhale up. That's so good. Let's repeat it. Going back to that first side, big side stretch. Inhale up and over. And inhale up. All right, you're going to bend your right knee. Bring that right foot in narrow and turn to your left leg. Get everything to turn to that left leg. So get in there with your hand and sweep your hand across your belly. Get your guts to spin over to the left and then bow out over the straight leg. If you wanted to use your belt to lasso the foot, you could go there as you bow over the straight leg. And use your hands on the floor to press yourself on it. I already have the right leg folded in, so you're going to fold the left leg in front of it. So my shins are side by side. They're not stacked. They're side by side. Shoulders are back, chest is lifted, and hinge over those those bent legs. As you hinge over, try to keep a flat back. So lead the way with your heart. Hands on the floor, press yourself on up. And let's take that right leg open. Left leg is bent in. Turn everything to the right. Hinge out over the straight leg. And again, you can use the belt to lasso the foot if you like. And then come on up. Take that bent leg, swing it in, one shin in front of the other, forward fold. And then finally come on up. Still with your legs crossed, palms forward, shoulders shrug. Inhale up. Exhale back and down. Pick a side, it doesn't matter which. Twist. And then twist to the other side. And come to neutral. Recross, put the other shin in front. And twist again. And one more time, twist. Well, my friends, time flies when you're having fun. I just glanced up at the time. From here, we're going to lie down and get our Shavasana on. So you have options. Always make yourself comfortable. If you're not comfortable, it's not Shavasana. So to modify your Shavasana, if you like, you can do what is called Ardha Shavasana, half Shavasana, or constructive rest pose, in which you do your Shavasana with your knees bent, toes turn in, knees leaning together. Or you could go the traditional route, stretch your legs out, and pancake yourself to the floor. If your lower back is still talking to you a little bit, you have the option of using a belt to help enhance that constructive rest pose. If you're using the belt, you tie your thighs together just above the knee, not to cut off circulation, but to keep your legs from falling apart. Belt your legs together. This will help you to release your lower back, because all the muscles that you would need to hold your legs together can also relax. So with knees bent, feet flat, belt your legs together if you choose to go here. You can have a more relaxing experience. Notice I've also put a pillow underneath my head, again, just in case you need to level your face so that your nose is higher than your chin and your neck is at a more neutral position. Back of your neck is long and wrinkle-free. As you settle in, let your eyes close, let that third eye open, find your breath, and self-soothe. Use your long, slow, smooth breathing to soothe your body.